Yo, hell yeah. Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, welcome to Wyatt. And I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grrr, woof, god damn it, woof, 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 woof. Hi. To all my YouTubers out there, if you like what you see, and if you like what you hear, just click that subscribe button at the bottom of your screens. Just click it, click it, click it, click it. I loves to click it. Yeah. Well, today's Wyatt is a very, very special treat. Our special guest is Mr. Nicholas Snow. He's the acclaimed LGBTQ plus and HIV activist who is making a profound difference with his online television network, Promo Homo TV. So, hi, let's get to cracking. So, without further ado, Wyatt presents a bona fide multi-hyphenate, y'all, and I'm going to glance at my cheat sheet so I can get it right. He's an ardent activist, a multimedia entertainment guru, a courageous content creator, and astute author, and he's a good buddy to boot. So let's welcome the snowstorm himself, Mr. Nicholas Snow. Talk at me. How the hell are you?
A little embarrassed, but thank you for having me. Over 6 feet of snow right here, by the way. I'm not standing up, so you can't really tell, but I'm a fan of yours, and we've connected in this online space. And I learn a lot from you, and I just appreciate the opportunity to come on your show.
Well, listen, man, I really appreciate you because you have given such enthusiastic support to my Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. The new installment is shattered. I say it, shattered. So I really appreciate that. So thank you for dropping by, Wyatt. Yes.
Well, you're welcome. And by the way, my interview with you about your latest book has been on the homepage of promohomo.tv since we did it. So people can find that easily. And if it's no longer on the homepage, when they go there, they can go to the Notes from Hollywood series on promohomo.tv.
Okay, you all listen now and go to Promo Homo TV and check everything out, particularly me. You know what I'm saying?
But are you used to people checking you out?
Yeah, in more ways than one, and I love it. I love it.
Well, I am a hopefulsexual.
I love that too. Okay, let's just dive in now. Nick, you are the architect of Promo Homo TV, which is a full-fledged online television network with multiple broadcast TV-style series created for a global audience. Promo Homo TV streams to hundreds of thousands of viewers, y'all, on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course, www.promohomotv. Now, your network began, I believe, as Facebook Live broadcasts in 2016, correct?
Yes, I've been in LGBTQ plus media for over 30 years, but I did start branding my videos as Promo Homo TV about that time. And it's actually www.promohomo.tv.
Oh, I am so sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Cool. You know, I am a title fanatic because the right title can really grab your product and help increase sales. So what's the skinny behind Promo Homo TV? Why did you select that particular title for your brand?
Okay, so let's back up a bit, quite a
Uh-oh.
bit. I was in the 90s quite an activist in the LA metropolitan area. I had a public access television
Cool.
show called Tinseltown's
Right.
Queer that was available to up to 600,000
Wow.
households on a regular basis. And in a press release, um, I sent out a press release, which you write in third person.
Uh-huh.
So I sent out this press release in which there was a line that said, and Snow, who has been referred to LA's primo promo homo on the go-go, uh, so I just created this line that referenced me as the promo homo.
Okay.
And even though I planted it, it got published, so I could then refer to whatever publication referred to me as the promo homo as the source of that information. And my media creation has taken different forms over the years. The most significant brand other than promohomo.tv was and is Notes from Hollywood. And what was consistent in my decades of work is my activism, my desire to honor and express my creativity in a way that makes a difference.
Absolutely.
So when Facebook Live came about, it allowed me to initiate broadcasts without a crew, without advance notice. When the internet came about in the 90s, one of the things I would say is the internet is allowing us to jump homophobic Hollywood gridlock and go directly to a global audience with content for and about their lives. Of course, at the time, you still needed a lot of other technology to deliver video content, and initially video content was really expensive to even put online and to find someone to host video online. So Facebook was a game changer for me. And right before a particular installment of the White Party, where I was credentialed to cover for my podcast, my audio podcast, it enabled Facebook Live was enabled on the Android phone. It had already been enabled on the iPhone, but I didn't have an iPhone at the time. Okay. So instead of covering that White Party as for audio, I covered it with video broadcasting, and it was just in a few days I got thousands of views. And really, from the moment I started, I began to refer to it as Promo Homo TV. And I ultimately locked in the brand, locked in all the social media IDs and the websites and the logo, and the rest is queer history.
I love it. Now, the editorial mission of Promo Homo TV is, and I quote, connecting the circuitry of humanity by creating programming for LGBTQ plus everyone. And your personal mission statement is, and I quote, to honor and express my creativity in a way that makes a difference. Nice. Let's expound on that.
Okay, so I'm living with HIV. I didn't become HIV positive until 2007, but my life was forever transformed in the early 80s when people I knew and loved were living with and dying of AIDS. And I just learned in incredibly powerful ways the importance of my own voice. And the fact that there was so much hate and bigotry and darkness in the world that needed to be counteracted by people expressing their truth. And I was a student in the Department of Public Programs at Arizona State University at the time, studying communication. and recovering from my own conservative Republican upbringing. And I basically just learned the importance of honoring my own life force. So that's sort of evolved into me describing as to honor and expressing my creativity in a way that makes a difference. And when it comes to connecting the circuitry of humanity, I believe the more that we know about each other, that we understand about each other, the more that we express our own truths, the more that we defeat ignorance and make the world a better and safer place for everyone. Excuse me. So ACT UP had the phrase silence equals death. And then, of course, the mirror phrase to that is action equals life. And in my activism in the 90s, I basically, and I still believe this today, to the extent that we withhold our individual knowledge about a particular subject is equal to the extent that we are promoting ignorance about that subject and therefore connected to the adverse consequences of that ongoing ignorance. So, for example, look at all the lives that were changed when people like Ellen came out. She expressed her truth. And literally millions and millions of lives have been changed because of her expression of her life force. So it has to do with honoring one's life force, honoring one's creativity, expressing one's truth. And I love to inspire people to give themselves permission to identify and follow their own dreams as well.
Oh man, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Okay.
I'd like to break some news.
Oh, please do. Please break it. Break it.
All right. So this is the first time I'm talking about this in any sort of interview.
Yes.
I've put some teasers out on social media, which I'm sure you have seen. So I have launched the Hopefulsexual educational campaign.
Congrats.
And I have this shirt on, as you can see, that says Hopefulsexual. And there's a whole line of T-shirts and of shirts in different styles and colors. And there's this design, and there's a different design that's like a giant red rubber stamp of Hopefulsexual. And the purpose of the campaign is to create authentic human connection while simultaneously combating sexuality-based shame and stigma. And one of the things I've been looking at in my own life is, why is it challenging for me to connect with real people in the real world? Why is it challenging for all kinds of people of all walks of life and sexual orientations to connect with the real people in the real world? And part of it is many of us have received messages that we're not okay. And most of us have received messages, regardless of where we come from, that our sexuality isn't okay. There's been so many rules and regulations and restrictions and judgments that have come up around the whole notion of sexuality. And I first thought of the word Hopefulsexual many years ago because I'm working on an autobiography, and it's called Hopefulsexual: My Lifelong Journey to Create a World in Which I Could Simply Find Love. And that's how I sort of came up with the word Hopefulsexual. And then I thought, well, how could I evolve this? And do I need to wait until that book comes out? And so I've launched this campaign, and the first step of it is to make this merchandise available. And it's on the world's biggest stores in all of their country platforms, Amazon. But it's really hard to find products on Amazon, so I made it easy. And if you go to hopefulsexual.com, it redirects to the Amazon store where you can find all of the merchandise. Now,
nice.
the final design that's like the rubber stamp, it just hit Amazon yesterday, and I won't get my own samples of it until tomorrow.
Okay.
But I went to an event last night, and I wore this shirt, and I got one compliment after another when I walked into a room with this shirt on. And I look forward to like going to Walmart and the grocery store and wherever, just wearing this shirt. And I am looking forward to seeing what happens as more and more people go out into the world declaring their hopeful sexuality. You see, coming out is not just for gay people anymore. Everyone can come out as hopeful sexual, and collectively, who knows who we're going to meet as a result of doing so. And we can fight sexuality-based shame and stigma along the way.
Well, congratulations, my friend. I mean, the moniker say it again.
Hopefulsexual.
Hopefulsexual is catchy. I mean, and it has meaning behind it. Wow. Oh, when is the book going to be released?
Well, that book isn't going to come out for a long time because I have a lot more life to live.
Okay.
And as you know, I've got my hands full right now. But that is the working title of the book. I have another book out, as you know, called Life Positive, A Journey to the Center of My Heart, a Living Powerfully with HIV memoir. And that's been out. I'll celebrate the 10-year anniversary of that book. And it looks basically at about a 3-year period of my life in which I discovered I was HIV positive and decided to come out about it while living in Thailand. And I became one of the most, for a time, I became one of the most visible, openly HIV positive people in Asia. And I returned to Palm Springs, California, where I live now. And it's all chronicled in the book. So that book is out.
Well, we're going to get into that a little bit later. But right now, what I want to do is travel through the corridors of time so we can learn all about your backstory. So are you ready?
Girl, I'm ready.
Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Tucson, Arizona, to a military father and my mother. Neither one of them are with us. My mom in Tucson, Arizona. My mom met my father, who was stationed in Tucson, where she was going to college. She ended up dropping out of college and marrying him, to the chagrin of her parents. And they never forgave her for that, really. But my parents had 2 children in Tucson, and then we were stationed in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and then Little Rock, Arkansas, at which point my parents had a 3rd child. Then my father left my mother for an airline stewardess he met on a flight home from Vietnam, where he had done a tour. And my father and his new wife had 2 more children. So I have a beautiful half brother and half sister, of course, adults. And my mother remarried in Flagstaff, Arizona, where we lived, to a wonderful man with 2 children. And so I had this extended family where there were a lot of us. But most of my growing up was in Flagstaff, Arizona, and I'm not really blaming anybody because we lived in a society that cultivated it. But I have lifelong trauma from the bullying I got.
I can imagine.
Growing up, it's just I think that's one of the reasons why it's still a challenge regardless of all the work that I do, to just feel comfortable connecting with people because of the harsh bullying that I experienced, especially in the area of group exercise and PE and stuff like that.
I totally get it, Nicholas, because I was bullied a lot when I was a kid too, and it's hard to reconcile it. It's hard to get over it, because even as an adult, because Everyone has that child inside of him or inside of her, which leads me to ask you this question, my fun question. What was Nicholas like as a little boy, a little nipper? Give us like three characteristics, qualities, traits that best described you.
So what age do you define as little boy?
Oh, let's say between 5 and 12.
Well, that's quite a range. Where many different iterations, but um, I have always been very inquisitive. My mom would say nosy. So I grew up in a family with excellent language skills, and I so I was a conversationalist. When I was in the third grade, I got invited to sing a solo in front of the class, and I did this astounding job. And finally, I got some respect from my peers in an environment where I had such intense bullying. So that's how I kind of connected with performance as a way of getting approval and being a part of. And so it was music and drama that really kept me alive when I was growing up. But the genesis of that was when I was a kid in that age range that you cited.
Okay. Regarding the bullying, was there ever a point where you said, okay, enough is enough? How did you like get past it? How did you manage to cope with it, in a, I don't know, in a decent way so that you could pretty much move on and,
Well, I don't necessarily feel like I know the answer to the question. I mean, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, as they say. And I may have lived in a time in the world where people would accept verbal epithets like, calling somebody a fag, but I wasn't ever beaten up because of that. I wasn't the victim of violence. I wasn't physically harmed. Right. And I did have a loving mother. I was raised a lot of this time. I had a single mom in the picture, and she did the best she could. I had the supportive family, but I wasn't out. I didn't know I was a gay boy. And ultimately, I guess, we'll circle back. My answer was I found things that got me acknowledged, such as being an excellent communicator and singing and acting and debating and yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know you were going to get so deep, Wyatt.
Well, you see, listen, with me, you never know.
But that's okay. I said before we went live that no topic is off limits, and I welcome all questions.
Well, I appreciate that because so many people have been bullied. I went through a lot of it, and head tripped over it. So your feedback is really important, and will definitely help people. But let us fast forward to say 1993, where you created, produced, and hosted Tinseltown's Queer. I believe it was the public access TV show that you described as a Queen's version of Larry King. So what motivated you to create it? What was your muse?
Well, I came out at Arizona State University in the early 80s, in the mid 80s, while in the Department of Public Programs. That's when I came out on a statewide level as a major activist. And I created a speakers bureau as part of my internship at Arizona State University to speak about what we knew at the time about LGBTQ issues and what would become known as AIDS. So my activism was rooted there. And I ended up living in LA. And in 1988, I participated in this personal growth seminar called The Experience. It was formerly referred to as the Advocate Experience.
Okay.
But it basically was really about everybody taking their next step and expressing their authenticity, specifically around their sexuality, and to do it in a loving way. And one of the founders of the experience, the late great Rob Eichberg, one of the things that I think this originated with him, but let me see if I can remember it. We are gentle spirits dancing playfully through life, and all we have to give and receive is love.
Okay.
So something along those lines. And anyway, that was very powerful. But graduates of the experience and others were the creators of the very first National Coming Out Day, which happened for the first time on October 11th, 1988. And we can say that it easily reached 25 million people in its first year. And one of the reasons that we can say that is because Oprah Winfrey featured it on October 11th, 1988. And at the time, her audience was around that size.
Right.
So, and in 1990, I became a board member of an organization called the Alliance for Gay and Lesbian Artists in the Entertainment Industry, which it didn't evolve into GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, but you could certainly say that it created the cultural context for GLAAD to come into being. And and I was living in Hollywood at this point because I wanted to pursue my lifelong dreams of being an actor. But it still was very much involved in activism. I ultimately got a day job, which I had for most of the 90s, at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. And I would love to mention one of the people that really inspired me to start my show, but he no longer has a media profile. So I don't think he wants to be named. He's kind of scrubbed his presence from social media at one point.
Interesting. Okay.
And I just want to honor that. But he started producing a public access show in LA, and I saw how it was done. And he inspired me to do my own show, which I did. And so on April 25th, 1993, was the March on Washington, which happened to fall on my birthday. But 3 days later, I was already set to launch Tinseltown's Queer. And you have to be of a certain age to know what a Queen's version of Larry King even means. But Larry King was one of the most famous talk show hosts at the time on CNN. So, yeah, I ended up producing that show with other people that worked with me at different times for around 7 years.
Wow. And then in the mid-90s, you developed a collaboration friendship with Matt Scalarood, founder of the highly successful GayWire.com. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Matt and his business partner, Fabrice Tessendo, now run Pink Media. They're behind the hashtag I Love Gay campaign. But when Matt and Fabrice launched GayWire, they lived in the San Diego area. And Matt sought me out because of my profile to be a media personality for GayWire.com. And the first time we ever met was at Jerry's Famous Deli, which is no longer there, but it was on Beverly Boulevard across the street from Cedars-Sinai. And the reason we met there is because that's where I worked, and we met at lunch. And I became a media personality for GayWire.com, and we've maintained that connection ever since. And as a matter of fact, it was sort of in my work with him that we did some really revolutionary things for the very first time. For example, we did live television internet simulchats on public access.
Wow. Okay.
So Matt and Fabrice would be in a public access studio with me. They would set up their laptop via a phone line. And then we would go live on the public access station. We would tell our audience how they could chat with us. And they could chat. So we were doing some revolutionary things at the time. And I ultimately left Cedars-Sinai in the late 90s, and for a time I was working for Gay Wired. And then during the period of time where there was a huge infusion of capital into the .com environment, Gay Wired was acquired by a larger company. And for a period of time, I was the vice president of content development for that company. When the .bomb happened, I got laid off, but Matt was always incredibly supportive of me. And he helped me convert a column that I used to write called Notes from Hollywood into a website.
Really?
So Notes from Hollywood, notesfromhollywood.com was a huge website. Now it is a program at promohomo.tv. And I still work with Matt today and Fabrice. Our life stories are inseparable.
Amazing. Regarding Notes from Hollywood.com, you were invited as an entertainment journalist to report on the Bangkok International Film Festival, which thrust you, my friend, into the international spotlight with world-famous celebrities. So tell us about that experience.
Well, at one point in the early 2000s, I moved to Palm Springs from Hollywood, so it could be the anchor market for Notes from Hollywood, which I envisioned as a multimedia entertainment brand to exist on radio, television, in print, and online, and the integration of text and video. And I felt like Palm Springs was close enough to Hollywood for me to still legitimately report about Hollywood while being able to appear regularly here on radio and write for several publications. And I met the executive director at the time of the Palm Springs International Film Festival, Craig Prater, before I left Gay Wired. And I created a media partnership between gaywired.com and the Palm Springs International Film Festival, which is where I met Craig Prater. Well, Craig ended up leaving that film festival. I ended up moving to Palm Springs. And fast forward, Craig was hired to be the executive director of the Bangkok International Film Festival. So I got invited 3 years in a row, all expenses paid, to report about the Bangkok International Film Festival for Notes from Hollywood. And they know how to celebrate in Thailand. They know how to throw amazing events, over-the-top events. And I like to say that I sort of stepped off an airplane and onto a red carpet because
Excuse me.
The sort of media attention that people with an association with Hollywood were getting in Thailand at the time was, sort of crazy. And I also want to give a shout out to Thomas Castaneda. He was the PR person that was involved with this film festival as well. And the second and third year of the film festival, Craig and Thomas and other people, Stephen Wilson is another name I'll throw out there. These people were involved in the festival, in the PR, and they asked me to moderate the press conferences in front of the International Press Corps with visiting actors and directors. And the first press conference I moderated was with Oliver Stone.
Whoa.
And over the 2 years, I moderated a press conference. For example, the Asia premiere of Phantom of the Opera happened one of those years. And the festival was honoring the work of director Joel Schumacher, who directed Phantom of the Opera. And one of the celebrities who was attending the festival as part of the tribute to Joel Schumacher was Michael Douglas. Stars of Phantom of the Opera, Gerard Butler and Miranda Richardson, were also there. So one of the press conferences I moderated, we started out with Gerard Butler, Miranda Richardson, and Joel Schumacher and myself. And then halfway through our conversation, Miranda and Gerard left and Michael Douglas joined the stage. And so I moderated a conversation with the two of them. There are lots of names. I won't remember them all, but I also had the opportunity to moderate a Q&A with Catherine Deneuve after a screening of The Umbrellas of whatever. There's a famous movie of Cherbourg or something like that. And yes, Willem Dafoe and others. So I got a lot of attention, and Notes from Hollywood got a lot of attention. And when I got invited there for the third time, I had this whole plan that I would base myself there. So I put all my stuff in storage. I went there with a one-way ticket, and I didn't have all the ducks in a row when I got there, but I ultimately was able to get official press card as a foreign correspondent. And I lived in Thailand with a work permit as a working journalist for 5.5 years. And while doing that, I also appeared in movies and television, and I did freelance reporting for English language print media and for English language television as well. Not that I did much when I was there.
Well, I have to say, all sookie now, I had no idea, Mr. Snow, that I have been interacting with a superstar.
Oh, yeah, that reminds me. I meant to, at the beginning of the show, when you said I get hundreds of thousands of views.
Yes.
I've actually gotten millions of views over the years.
Wow.
But if you look at my individual episodes, I don't get a lot of views for my individual episodes currently. And one of the reasons is because of the way that Facebook has dramatically changed the way that it allows us to have video there without paying for it. I might be jumping the gun, but that leads into a brand new program that I'm moving ahead with that you've known about, at least in theory, for a couple of years. The Snowstorm.
Ooh, listen, tell us about the Snowstorm, and then tell us about your roster of programs on Promo Homo TV.
Okay, so the Snowstorm can hit at any time. And what is it?
What is it?
It is a hot topics panel discussion show, literally about the hottest topics of the day. And
got chills.
So my intention is to have a roster of rotating panelists who are available theoretically at a moment's notice for me to reach out to them and saying, in an hour, the snowstorm is hitting. And then the other thing that I'm doing is since social media isn't notifying my followers the way that it used to, I'm encouraging all of my followers to subscribe to notifications from me. So if people go to promohomo.tv/subscribe, it tells them 3 different ways they can subscribe. They can subscribe to the Promo Homo TV Insiders newsletter. They can subscribe to my official YouTube channel and set reminders for upcoming broadcasts. But I also have a Patreon page. Patreon has been historically for people that donate money to creators.
Mhm.
And I do have paid opportunities starting at $1 a month, but they're also free. You can now sign up for free. So one of the things I'm going to be doing with the snowstorm
Mhm.
is I'm going to be giving the people that have engaged with my Patreon platform the opportunity to connect to these live shows via a video link.
Nice. Okay.
So imagine you're watching The View or The Talk
Mhm.
or your favorite Sunday morning news show with a panel discussion, and you're thinking, I have something to say. Well, if you've jumped through hoops and you've landed on my Patreon page, I will send out a link where people who are watching the show can actually call into the show via video link, and I can bring them into the broadcast.
Ah.
So it sounds a little bit complex, but basically, think of The View as a podcast where audience members can be at the table.
I like that. I like it. Well, when does the snowstorm hit?
The snowstorm will hit, I'm guessing no later than early October, but most likely sometime in September is
Nice.
when the snowstorm will start to hit.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to bundle up for that.
Well, I think that you need to be one of my rotating panelists.
I would love it.
Are you comfortable giving controversial opinions about the hottest topics of the day?
Yes.
Okay, can I test you on
Oh
that?
God, go ahead. God help me.
All
Oh
right.
no.
Say the first 3 sentences that come to mind when you hear Donald Trump.
Donald Trump is a criminal, the orange asshole, the sex offender. That kind of sums it up.
Okay.
That kind of sums it up right there. Did I do
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was fantastic. I loved
Whew.
it. So, but
Hmm.
there might be people on the panel that would say different things, but
Mhm.
I really do want to have a rotating panel of diverse perspectives.
Absolutely.
I'm not interested in featuring a panelist that supports Donald Trump. It's not going to be one of those things. I'm not going to have. I'm not going to promote criminals on my show. Things, and it won't always be political.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow.
You asked me about the other
Yeah.
programs, so.
Mm-hmm.
The Nicholas Snow Show is evolving into the Snowstorm. So that's that. Notes from Hollywood profiles people passionately pursuing professions in the entertainment industry. Itinerary is the travel show that spotlights out of this world experiences while being out in this world. Higher Powered. One of the things about the show Higher Powered is to take 12-step recovery out of the closet,
Wow.
but to also really spotlight and expand on spirituality and new thought and higher consciousness. I have some language on the website that's really good. It's about infusing all kinds of perspectives into infinite possibility.
Hmm.
And Life Positive spotlights people living with, impacted by, or working to bring about the end of HIV and AIDS. Hot in Palm Springs looks at things that are of interest in the greater Coachella Valley,
Mm-hmm.
where I live. Tinseltown's Queer is on Promo Homo TV, and that's where I'm placing the historic archives of my public access show as
Neat. Okay.
I restore and digitize it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I named them all.
Well, the roster, man, is very diverse. It's substantive and entertaining. So Promo Homo TV is the place to go. I'm telling you.
Thank you.
Now, my friend, on April 22nd, 2022, 3 days shy of your birthday, your 60th birthday, you bared your soul in a poignant and compelling speech titled The Powerful True Story of a Decade That May Have Never Happened. Tell us about that.
Well, I'm sitting right now in the affordable housing complex associated with the DAP Health, formerly known as Desert AIDS Project. And one of the reasons that I returned to Palm Springs was to become a client of DAP Health, because it was in Thailand that I had a rare slip in my safer sex behavior, and I became HIV positive. I didn't have health insurance, and I basically returned to the United States on the edge of homelessness with very little to my name. And one of the reasons that I returned to Palm Springs is, at the very least, I would have a sofa to sleep on of a friend if I needed it. But also, it was my intention to become a client of DAP Health. So that speech, I might have published it 3 days before my birthday, but I believe that speech happened earlier in the year. I want to say that I gave that's okay. I want to say I gave that speech in February, but whenever I gave it, I was invited to speak at the building dedication and groundbreaking. It was the building dedication of a building on the DAP Health campus called the Annette Block Care Center, and the groundbreaking of Vista Sunrise 2. I live in Vista Sunrise 1, and so another affordable housing complex. And I basically talked about how I am a survivor, and with DAP's help, I'm still here. But I talked about the scariest times of my life. I talk about my challenges connecting, my struggles with mental health, the therapists that were there for me. And I really feel like it's one of the most poignant things I've ever done in my life, that speech. It's available in its entirety on promohomo.tv. If you go into the Life Positive section, you can find that speech. But it was basically a love story to DAP Health, but not just that, because I reflected all the way back to the early 80s when I learned how to live my life from people who were losing theirs. So it was a testimonial about the power of one's life force and the expression of gratitude to those people who taught me how important it was to express that life force.
Wow. You know what? I have to thank you, Nicholas, for being so open and honest and forthcoming, and for everything that you've done and continuing to do for our community. I mean, you're, as my mother would say, you are a gem. So
thank you.
I had to say that. So listen, where do you see Promo Homo TV in the next 3 to 5 years? Sure, it's a cliche question, but I want to ask it anyway.
Well, I'm going to break some more news for you, okay?
Just keep doing it. Keep doing it.
So for most of my life, I was aware that I probably was born with a condition. And in the last 5 to 10 years, I finally was diagnosed through DNA testing of having a rare muscle disease.
Oh, man.
And it is called Nemeline myopathy. And in recent years, it has impacted the way that I walk. Like, for example, if I'm sitting in an upright position like this, I cannot lift either one of my legs off the ground by myself.
I'm so sorry.
I have to physically lift my legs to cross them. And I I need to like put a pair of pants on a sofa and lift my legs up to my pants to put my pants on. I'm able to walk, get around. I can still drive, but I've learned that sort of the next step is I need to be in physical therapy sort of 3 times a week for the rest of my life. And also, as much as I love my multimedia entertainment activism, I've been living on the entrepreneurial edge for so long that I spent a year and a half or more looking for the perfect job, full-time job.
Right.
So since early January, I have been working in the outpatient drug-free program at DAP Health. I'm not speaking on behalf of DAP Health here, but that's where I happen to work, and that's what I do. And I'm very grateful because I'm working in a healthcare environment that understands the time and energy it takes to pursue one's health.
Right.
So I'm doing that full-time job, and I've started working with a physical therapist. I'm going to start working with, I've invited a personal trainer to meet with the physical therapist. So I can then learn how to do in the gym everything that I can do to maintain and improve my strength and my health.
Great.
So that day job that's kind of fueling my economic stability and the time and energy that it takes to pursue and maintain my health is really, really important.
Absolutely.
And my challenge has been, all right, how do I bring Promo Homo TV back into this in a consistent, powerful way? And there have been times where during the last 6 months where I worked all day and then I came and I did a live broadcast like every day for a month at 5 p.m. I mean, there are ways of doing that.
Sure.
But the reason I want to put the time and the energy and the commitment into getting the following for the snowstorm is that I don't necessarily have to plan the programming in advance. I can do it at the drop of a hat.
Right.
Because my audience will be engaged and connected and want to join me. The panelists that I have on the show will be engaged and want to join me, and we'll have a following. And one of the important aspects of that show isn't about just bitching and moaning and talking about headlines, but to always find ways of connecting people to action they can take and that we can take to solve whatever dilemma we might be discussing. So I'm grateful that other than my muscle condition, I'm really healthy and I have a roof over my head and I have my creativity and my platform. The other thing I like to share is I have social anxiety. So it's very easy for me to do an interview or to get in front of 1,000 people or to appear in live media or to walk a red carpet. I've done stand-up comedy, I've acted, I've done all kinds of stuff. All that's easy. It isn't so easy for me to just walk across a room and say hello. So I work with a therapist. I have 22 years of sobriety. I do lots of work on myself, but I still want to have authentic connection with other people.
Right.
So one of the reasons I make it a mission for you to connect authentically with people is because I want to connect authentically with people. And one of the things I love about the new Hopefulsexual campaign is anybody who wears it, anyone who wears the shirt, hopefulsexual.com, anyone who wears the shirt, they're sending a positive, powerful message. It could be, it could be as directed as you want to hook up, but in general, it's just like, of course I'm a hopeful sexual. Sex is great, but it's really so much more than that. It's like, how do we communicate authentically with the people around us about who we really are and what prevents us from doing it. So I gave you a long answer to where I expect Promo Homo TV to be in the next 3 to 5 years. My spiritual philosophy is this, all right. I honor and express any part of any teaching that celebrates the universal equality of humanity. And I reject any part of any teaching that in order to be right has to make other people wrong. And the way I articulate my advice to myself and others is live your life in the context of the greatest vision you are able to have for yourself without attachment to timeline and without attachment to specific outcome. So if I'm living my life in the greatest vision I have for myself, and I'm not attached to the timeline, the things that are really important will always stay part of my vision. And the things that aren't will slip away. So every day in honoring my vision and my truth, I get clarity and I move closer to it. And if I'm not attached to a specific outcome, I allow for a power greater than myself to intervene. That power greater than myself could be spiritual, or it could be someone that sees the show and that's inspired by it and wants to help you or wants to help me. So I really, when I look at the next 3 to 5 years and beyond, I would love to just be pleasantly surprised.
Powerful, profound, my friend. Okay. How do us grown folk connect with you, interact with you, follow you? Please give us all of your social media.
Well, I'm happy that I did secure. There's nothing there yet when we're recording this on September 10th, 2023 is when we're recording this interview. But I've locked in Hopefulsexual on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, and .com. So that's locked in for anyone that wants to follow Hopefulsexual. I'm at Promo Homo TV across most social media, and promohomo.tv is the website where there's a prominent contact link. My public Facebook page is under the name Nicholas Snow. Facebook won't let you have a page called Promo Homo TV, but they let me have a page called Nicholas Snow. But anyone that wants to connect with my content, that's how. If they want to connect with me personally, I really prefer they use the contact link at promohomo.tv. They could try to slide into my DMs. I'm not sure what my filters are like. It's been a long time since someone slid into my DMs.
I'm sure sliding into a DM is so nice. Just slide on in there. And you know what, Nicholas? You know what? I am a hopeful sexual.
Okay, good. Yes. You know,
yes,
I think most. Do you know most Republicans are hopeful sexual? My parents were probably hopeful sexual. Most viewers of Fox News, Wyatt, are hopeful sexual.
I can believe it.
I'm telling you, hopeful sexuality is rampant.
In other words, they is. I totally.
We're all hopeful sexuals, unless we're asexual, and I honor that. By the way, I honor people who are asexual.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Nicholas Snow, thank you so much for stopping by. Wyatt, you have an open invitation to come back anytime you want.
Well, thank you, and I look forward to welcoming you as a panelist on The Snowstorm.
Yes. Listen, I'm ready whenever you call.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to reach out to you and other people I've identified to be as panelists to find out, because we're all in different time zones, to figure out when people are available, because that it would be important for me to launch for a snowstorm to hit when there's people to be on the show.
Absolutely, that makes sense. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
Well, thanks for having me, Wyatt, and I look forward to when we have the opportunity to meet in the real world.
Most definitely. It's nothing better than the real world. All right. Thank you. Yeah. So, y'all, there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page at WyattEvans.com, the go-to destination for LGBTQ plus news, features, commentary, and entertainment. WyattEvans.com is visited by more than 100 countries on the regular. All I can say to that is, hey, baby. And at WyattEvans.com, you'll find my smoking hot, HAWT hot, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. And as you just saw on the top, the newest installment is called Shattered. I said Shattered. And y'all, Shattered is full of action, danger, intrigue, sexually charged situations, passion, and all of the wonderful elements that you're used to in the Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. So get your new copy of Shattered. Now, you can follow me, your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, all across social media, and poof, is right there for you to peruse, like TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And if you have any comments or whatever, you can hit me up at wyattonair@gmail.com. So until next time, y'all, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof. I said woof.